I'm being recorded. Okay. Oh, we have chat too. Okay, cool. I can type in chat. Perfect. Hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday. It's Tuesday for me still. I know in our last webinar we looked up where it wasn't Tuesday, and I can tell you that it is not Tuesday in Ethiopia. That's where the Tuesday stops. And then as you go east, it continues to not be Tuesday. So Ethiopia currently is the Tuesday line.
I love that. Well, hi, everyone. For those who joined us, thank you for joining us for the Getting Started with Real-Time 3D. My name is Kimberly. I am CST's Membership Services Specialist, and I will just be facilitating this webinar, but I will be helping with the chat and any technical issues that anyone has. So if you have any questions regarding that, please put it in the chat and I'll be happy to assist with that. We do have Thomas Winkley and Leslie Hernandez with Unity. They are one of our institutional partners. So I'm very excited to get started. If everyone wants to, you can go ahead and put in the chat just a quick hello, maybe where you're from, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So we are so excited to share more about resources on how you can get started with real-time 3D. So hello. Oh, from San Diego. Hello, Amy. Hello, Margaret from Tokyo. Maryland, awesome. I'm from Maryland as well. Hello, everyone.
I get to see Maryland next year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jersey, welcome, welcome. Welcome all. All right, I guess hi, darling. All right, I'll kick it off with introducing ourselves as well as sharing a little bit more about Unity. Tom, let's kick it off with you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tom. So I'm on Leslie's team. I am a technical marketing advocate. So I know how to use Unity and I like to talk to people.
Awesome. And I'm Leslie Hernandez. I have the pleasure with working with Tom. So we're both on the social impact team here at Unity. And my role at Unity is, so I've been here for about 1.5 years. And my role is to launch programs and resources for educators to bring computer science, programming, VR development in the classroom. Some of you may be familiar with Unity, but for those who are not, this is, I would say, what drives us to work, this statement right here. So at Unity, we believe the world is a better place with more creators in it. This philosophy is really centered around creators, and this is the heart of our company, right? So this motivates Thomas and I every day to help solve the toughest engineering, data, and operational problems so that our digital creators can create and operate. Unity is the world's leading platform for creating and operating interactive real-time 3D content. So our platform provides a comprehensive set of software solutions to create and operate real-time 3D and real-time 2D for mobile phones, tablets, PCs, consoles, augmented and virtual reality devices. And our platform is used or deployed across various leading platforms, as you can see here, such as like Windows, Apple, etc. Here is our agenda for today. We will first kick off by describing what real-time 3D is, and then we'll segment into how educators are using this in the classroom today. And then we're so excited to share a ton of free resources for you to get started and for your students to get started in this technology. And then we will have time in the end for Q&A. So like to start off by asking you all a question. What is real-time 3D? What does that look like to you? So if you could just type in and let us know your thoughts on what it is, we'd love to see what you think.
And I'll add a note that we are believers. There's no wrong answers. Oh, I like the AR call out.
Yeah, AR. Yes, absolutely. Fast rendering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go. Okay.
Absolutely. Live time. VR.
Yep.
Yes. So awesome. So yeah, I feel like you all immersive IRL.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like you all touched upon that, right? It's not only, the technology, right? It's like the software and like the hardware and like the immersive experience that one encounters. So yes, thank you. So real-time 3D is a technology that creates three-dimensional models, right? There's environments and complete virtual worlds that can be rendered instantly, as one mentioned here. So this content goes far beyond the traditional formats like film, television, and print, right? Because it's not static. It's both immersive and interactive, right? And it offers real lifelike graphics, right? That gives users this precise, immediate control over their experience. And real-time 3D has just like created endless possibilities in not only gaming and media, but other industries. And then once created, it can be deployed to mobile devices, computers, consoles, AR, VR headsets, and a whole lot of other platforms to reach just various audiences. Real-time 3D technology has played a key role in industries such as architecture, medicine, automotive, aerospace, and film. And most importantly, the demand for these skills has been growing really rapidly, right? For these type of developers, programmers, and artists. And as use cases expand, right, and this metaverse takes place, you as educators have the opportunity to prepare your students for the technology careers of tomorrow. So let's watch a video. This is going to be a 3-minute video of how real-time 3D is driving innovation across industries. Okay. So Kim and Tom, if you can give me a thumbs up if you hear it once I play it. Okay, let's see here.
Thumbs down, and
Anything.
you might need to pop your share screen and hit the share sound button one more time.
Oh, do it again. Sorry. What do I need to do? Let's see here.
Yeah, so if you hit the share screen and then there's a little checkbox.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Share screen.
I only know because I do this dance a lot too with you. Because I'm always like, oh, I forgot to hit the button.
That's weird because we were able to test it. Do you want, Tom, can you take over from here?
Sure, yeah, let me grab the deck really quick.
Sorry, all.
Would not be a live presentation if stuff wasn't fun.
Thank you all for your patience. Sorry about that.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, nope. Okay, let me share screen, window, share sound, optimize for video. Let me know if y'all hear that.
You can do anything.
In Unity, I can choose who I want to be.
With Unity, I can have a small size team, but deliver on AAA quality.
It's pretty groundbreaking, let's just put it that way. Whether or not that's film or games, construction or automotive, this creative medium is available to everyone.
So what's the real-time engine? In factual terms, it is a piece of software, but it's so much more than that.
Unity's real-time 3D is an environment built to build video games, but these other industries are getting on board.
What Unity provides is a way that people from different disciplines communicate. Designers and artists and coders collaborate on the design together.
Unity is the bridge. That's how I see it.
In game development, it solves a lot of problems so you don't have to.
It's not just an editor engine company. It's giving the developers the tools to get our games in front of as many people around the globe as possible and make something that's really, really successful.
What is unique about Unity is we want to help developers build long-term relationship with players and generate revenue. Our vision is building successful businesses for our creators.
Whether you're one person and an indie developer,
or you're part of a large team where you have 100 different peers working on one Unity game, you're all being powered by the same technology.
giving you this extra boost, this extra leg up to make our lives easier, but also to make the game better.
Unity is drastically changing the automotive industry. Using Unity as a glue, we can cover the whole life cycle of production processes
design, ergonomics, safety.
Machine learning training. Hey, can we actually test how rain will look and the wipers performance? Add the moose in front of the car and see how it will react. And everything was super fast because we were running Unity from the back seats.
In the construction field, we use Unity for everything and then some.
With augmented reality, we can overlay the entire building in front of the developer. We can feel the space with this dynamic environment that we can walk through. Select your wood grain, oak versus cherry, add lighting.
Our team can update the site, the project, the model instantaneously.
We can change how buildings are built.
We built all the tools of cinematography, staging and blocking and lighting and performances, and we built them into virtual reality. There's nothing that could get in the way of the filmmaker's desire to just work in real time, to work from instinct.
Interactive animation has to be immediate for you to truly believe it's real. And that's why we've used Unity for that.
This is the moment.
This is the future of animation.
Architecture.
The automotive industry.
Game development.
The next great filmmaker is a child who has these tools in their hands.
Even if you're one person, if you've got a great idea, you now have the technology to realize that.
Creators are the pace setters, the dreamers, those with an imagination, and we are here to support them because we think the world's a fundamentally better place with more creators in it.
Thank you, Tom, for saving the moment.
No worries.
If you don't mind driving, if that's okay.
I got you. Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, next slide. Awesome. I hope you've all were inspired by that video. So one of the indicators of where real-time 3D technology is going is the strong demand for these skills. Now, we see that roles that utilize Unity and real-time 3D technology are growing 62% faster than the overall job market. And then there's the biggest demand for AR, VR, and gaming roles. And these type of roles do translate into lucrative job roles. Salaries for these type of developers and game developers are higher than the national average. And we see this in both US and the UK. Next slide. At Unity, we do partner with schools and educators to prepare students for these high demand tech and creative careers. So our approach is we do this by providing not only grants, but on-demand learning and an array of free tools and resources. And now kick it over to Tom.
Oh, this is the demo part. All right, cool. So now I get to show you all the resources that we provide for educators, teachers, really anybody who will jump onto them. But we have a lot of stuff built specifically for educators that I want to show you. So this is learn.unity.com. It is, in my opinion. Oh.
Sorry to cut you off. I think, do we want to show like the use cases first, like the educators?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Sorry.
No, you're good. I appreciate you keeping me on task.
Thank you.
All right. So real-time 3D is pretty powerful in the classroom, right? We have a lot of educators across the globe implementing this type of tech and tackling things. So these are some shots from a visit I did in Colorado Springs, Colorado for a classroom of one of our educators. His name's Sean Wybrandt, and they actually teach real-time 3D, but they do it in a work method. So these students actually take a special projects class where they're building a project, and these are actually contracts that they've set up relationships with nonprofits in the area. So these specific students were showing their work to NASA and Space Force and the Air Force at the Space Symposium because they had actually built some space stuff. So this is science on a sphere at their local conservatory. And they were tired of not being able to see the rings on like Saturn and the different planets that would orbit it. So these two young women actually built a HoloLens app that would target the sphere for the science on a sphere, and it would put the orbiting bodies around the object. So you could walk into the room and you would see the planet, and then you would put the HoloLens headsets on. Apologies, my phone didn't take the best photo, but you can see the back of the HoloLens right there, actually. And you'd pop that on, and it would target that mesh, and then you could actually see all of the orbiting bodies and the different debris and things going around that object, really enhancing the experience of learning. The other thing they built in the HoloLens, and I'm going to turn the audio off because it's just Sean talking about it, is they built a HoloLens experience where you can actually kind of go to space and interact with the Mars space station. Let me full screen this just a little bit and I'll kind of just jump around the video. I guess this is as big as it gets. Thanks, YouTube. So if we jump back to say about here, they're actually looking at the Mars rover. Hope you all can say hello to my dogs. I think somebody walked past the house. You can see they're actually looking at a scale model of a rocket, and they can go in and walk around and actually interact with that piece, see the tools, see parts of the project. They've got different button controls to turn on information. And then you've got the spacesuit kind of floating and rendering next to it. And this is all happening in his classroom right during that portion. I don't think there's anything else we can jump to. This is them driving the Mars rover. So they've got these controls here. And then if you look out the window that's to his right, you'll actually see the Mars rover driving around. And you can see it overlaid inside the classroom. So they're learning about space. They're learning about science. They're learning to code. They're learning to collaborate. And they're doing all of this together in school. So, this is come on, let's get past it. Let's go. There we go. Now, there's other stuff being done. This is Mark Suter's classroom, and he and his students do a lot of game and solution design work. So this is the actual prototype of how to use a drill and like fix a car. And they built this in VR, so the students were learning how to put like actual nuts on a bolt and then take the drill and drill it in. And this little GIF kind of shows how they built out that piece. These are students presenting actual projects from Debbie. She's another one of our academic ambassadors or education ambassadors, and they're showing that these virtual how to change a tire classes they put together to solve and integrate those problems. And if you jump forward here, you can see them actually demoing to each other what their problems are, what the different use cases. I think this is the construction project. And then this one, I think that's also another one of the construction projects they had built in, but you can see the students actually demonstrating their work using the Meta Quest 2 with these experiences they've built inside the engine while tying it up. Going back to more of Mark's classroom, you can see them collaborating here, right? They've got these Meta Quests all along the headset or along the desks. They're also headsets. And they've got their tables here as they're working together and collaboratively. And that's actually my favorite part about seeing real-time 3D integrated in the classroom is building experiences like this is absolutely collaborative, right? You are collaborating with people that know things you know or know things you don't know. And so you can see them all kind of grouping together to talk about the problem, test the demo, look at what's going on. And then you can see some students over here, one presenting and one actually testing their experience dangerously close to that television. But I think they're going to be okay as long as they don't throw anything. So here's that experience you saw about changing the tire on a car. And something that's really interesting is he actually makes his students prototype it with either Legos or 3D printing or blocks, or draw out what the experience will be. So you can see here, they have a little paper drill and they're showing like what the steps would be to go through before they can actually implement that in virtual reality to change. Looks like a little purple thing, looks like some drums. I don't know what part of the brake that is. Maybe it's just a purple bowl. Who knows? Okay. I've done the thing correctly this time. I believe it's back to Leslie.
Thank you, Tom. That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to add, I know that there were some educators that had like partnerships with like industry. I believe Mark Suter, I don't know if it was like Ford or Honda, but
it's one of those two. Yeah.
One of those two, like they partnered so that way, like the students can create like training for their employees via like VR. So it's like pretty cool just having the opportunity, to partner with those like organizations.
Well, and that helps get funding for the projects, right? Too, because if you look at like even Sean Wybrandt's class, HoloLenses are $3,500 a piece. But because the Navy is super interested in education and they saw the work his class was kind of doing, they provided that class with the PCs and the HoloLenses they would need to then get that work done, which then allowed them to build those projects for the Space Foundation, which is a nonprofit. And so it's really upskilling and uplifting the community while these students are learning as well.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you. Next slide. So now we'll dive into some resources that you could use to get started in real-time 3D. So Unity provides free educational licenses. So we have free individual licenses for students and educators to use on their personal computers. And then we also have licenses for the classroom, right? Multi-seat licenses that educators can use in like their school computer lab. So this is pretty great because like this equips students and educators to start creating immersive experiences across any industry. And currently our licenses are available for students ages 16 and up. However, we are working to expand this age group. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, so before Tom goes into like demoing Unity Learn, just wanted to highlight here that we also provide a free online education platform that has over 750 hours of on-demand learning content for creators at any level. So this can be accessed online, it's on the cloud, like students and educators can use it. So you'll find structured courses, tutorials covering so many topics. And then there's also scope and sequences, lesson plans, standards alignment for educators. So Tom, I'll kick it over to you. Want to show a demo?
All right. So I gave you a teaser earlier. And by gave you a teaser, I mean, jumped the gun on what part I was supposed to show you. So now we can actually look at Learn, which is a platform I happen to love. So this is learn.unity.com. And it's really built around helping students and teachers and anyone who wants to learn the engine do exactly that. So starting things off is I want to jump to our pathways. Where did I hide you? Here we go. So pathways were built with the idea of when you come out of a pathway, you should feel confident to jump forward towards getting a job or even entering the industry and building your portfolio and testing yourself and driving your skills further. And so we start you at essentials, right? It takes about 2 weeks. It's really introduction to real-time 3D. How do I get into it? What do I do? How do I interact with the editor? How do I install it? What's this industry all about? And then from there, you can choose, hey, do I want to write code or do I want to be a little more on the creative side? And you can jump into junior programmer or creative core. You can be zany like me and do both. It's whatever you really want to dive into. And junior programmer spends time talking you through object-oriented programming, all the principles tied there, collaboration, how to build projects. And by the end of it, you actually have about 8 prototypes built and they have a personal project. Creative core focuses on more the creative side of the engine where you're doing physics processing, you're thinking about color and lighting, and you're still building interactive experiences. And at the end of that, they actually have all of their projects they've built to learn, but then they have a personal project as well. And then the kind of capstone they can dive onto is a combination of all these skills is VR development. And they go in and actually build VR rooms and VR experiences that really get those skills to either go through and take that forward to whatever industry they'd like to tackle. So usually when I show this and I'm like, yeah, so teach it in your classroom, teachers usually look at me with kind of a blank stare and they're like, cool, so I get to spend the next 10 years of my life becoming a Unity development expert so I can teach my kids. And I say to you, maybe if you want to, but you don't have to. That's what I did. I really like it. But instead of doing that, you can jump to our educator hub, which is free, and you can check out our spotlight. So we have an educator spotlight, and then we have all these resources for teaching the pathways. So we have materials for Unity Essentials, Junior Programmer, Creative Core. So if I jump to the Unity Essentials materials right here, you're going to see that we have information about how to explore Unity, getting ready for it, welcome to the course. But if you look right here, we actually just have this facilitator kit. And if we jump into it, we can see that I've got a teacher preparation guide. I've got teacher tips. I've got my pathway syllabus. I've got my standards alignment document. And if I jump to my all lesson plans, this is my favorite part. We actually have your lesson plans built out session by session. And of course, you don't have to follow these exactly as written, right? Y'all know better than me because you probably teach a lot more than I do that this stuff changes and moves around and classrooms change, but we actually have these different learning objectives and what you're trying to do in the projects. And then we actually have steps of how to get through everything. And the nice thing is we've got video transcripts you can look through, and you can also point the students at the video and at written content in the essentials pathway as you're guiding them. So you can kind of jump between both pieces there. And this exists for all of the pathways. It also exists for Create with Code, which is one of my favorite pieces of content we have. And the cool thing is Create with Code is actually part of the junior programmer pathway. It actually makes up almost the entire first half. So we can go here and look at these different bits and pieces tied to it. Let's see, this one is not showing me my educator stuff that I want. So we're going to go to Create with Code instead. Ta-da, ta-da. So Create with Code has you doing the first half of junior programmer, writing a ton of content. But if I go to this for educators tab, I can see those same things. syllabus, scope and sequence, standards alignment, and then a PDF chock full of lesson plans to help guide me through what I'm trying to build. And then, of course, we have a community on Facebook and Discord that you can dive into and interact with so that you can actually ask questions of other educators, solve problems. I hang out in there. A bunch of our community people hang out in there so we can try to tackle, some of the bigger problems you run into. What other stuff should I show, Leslie?
I think that's great. One
Cool.
thing I wanted to add is like these like pathways, like, if students or like educators go through this, at the end, they are prepared to take the certifications. There's specific certifications that like you can take and students can take and you're certified. Like, I think that's like one of the great things. It's like you go through this content and you can become certified. But yeah, this is great. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, good call out. I forgot certifications are super cool and a great pathway they can dive into and take.
Awesome. And then we have, yeah, that's the, guess that
Oh,
was
that's our
the-
demo for the hub.
Yeah.
Haha, cool.
Thank you. And then lastly, we do have like programs, right? Like Tom showed you the on-demand learning, but we do have this new program called Unity Ed Lab for middle and high school. Basically what it is it's Unity on the cloud, right? Because right now, in order to access Unity, you need to have a high performance computer, but Unity Ed Lab, you can use it on a Chromebook, right? And you can stream it. So with this comes with like lesson plans and content that's aligned to AP computer science principles. These lesson plans can be used for year-long, semester-long, or quarter-long implementation models. And then, as I mentioned, it can be used on low-performance computers. Next slide, please. In this next slide, Tom has a great demo for us that shares more about what this program is.
Will allow having access to a 3D editor in the cloud will allow students to unleash their creativity in a real-time 3D platform while learning important skills for future jobs across multiple industries.
The streaming editor also removes the need for high-performance hardware.
Since Unity Ed Lab has Unity running in the cloud, your students can access everything they need on something as lightweight as a Chromebook. The removal of installation and hardware barriers immediately makes real-time 3D skills more accessible to students across the world. At this point, you're probably thinking, great, but what do I teach? How do I even teach it? This is where the Educator Portal comes in. The Educator Portal is a centralized web portal that provides access to lesson plans, tutorials, instructional materials, assets, student activities, and other resources built specifically for educators like yourself. This portal was built with the single goal of equipping educators with the tools, resources, and skills they need to teach Unity with confidence and provide enriching, engaging learning experiences, even without a technical background. Students are granted access to Unity Ed Lab through the Roster Classroom Management tool. This tool allows educators to easily assign and manage. Each student with a seat will have access to the Unity editor through Unity Ed Lab. Once assigned, they can log in and begin working through the curriculum provided by us or built by you. Unity Ed Lab has a storage system allowing students to store their projects on a drive attached to their Unity Ed Lab account. This means you don't need to use storage space on their local computer. It'll all be held in the cloud for them anytime they log in. So that's it. We are so excited to give you the opportunity to bring your students into the incredible world of real-time 3D with the Unity Ed Lab. Go to create.unity.com/unity-edlab-sales-rep to reach out to one of our amazing salespeople who can help guide you on your journey to teaching the future of real-time 3D.
Thank you. If you can turn to the next slide. Awesome. So we do have time for questions. I do want to point out in the next slide, after this one, we can open for questions. Here are links to, if you want to show that. Tom created a link tree for you to use that highlights everything that we spoke about in this webinar. Unity.com/learn/educators also has many of those resources that we pointed out. Oh, thank you so much. You just put it in the chat box. Awesome. All right, well, I hope you will found this webinar useful. We'll open up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for us? You can type it in the chat box.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
Go for it.
So I was just wondering, you showed the junior program or the creative core, and I was wondering if there is anyone that is maybe a little less difficult or easier. I teach students with autism, their autism assessment, and some of them also have dyslexia. So like text-based coding is sometimes very tedious, and if you know.
Totally.
Yeah. So is there one that's maybe a little easier than the other?
Yeah, so I would argue that creative core is probably easier in that regard, right? But also, we have Unity Essentials, which is really just like, let's get into it and kind of make some basic prototypes and play around. I would also say, my screen share is still up, so I can just show you. We actually have a really cool set of micro games that they can work with. And this is actually a really handy, let's see, what am I trying to do here? Unity Essentials Live. Yeah, so we actually do some work with the micro games, like a karting micro game. And this gets them really comfortable in real-time 3D because they're focusing in on taking existing components and modifying and creating in that way. So they've got pre-existing code, pre-existing blocks that they can start getting really comfortable moving and, manipulating objects and doing all that type of thing. And they're still building an experience and getting something out of it and learning some really solid, really awesome skills. So that would be the other thing to consider too, is look at some of our micro games. My favorite's the karting micro game. And I can actually drop a link to the chat to specifically this session. This is a live session we did on it. That's kind of helpful. It doesn't have the full teacher resources built to it. That being said, it's to a point where there is like a how to like set up the micro game, and then they could work through it that way as well.
I'm sure they'll be showing me how to do it.
Right, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
That's a really great question. Thank you. We have here, so do you have to download an engine to use Unity Learn? So you do have to, and please, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong here, but yeah, you do need to access Unity, and we do have that available for free via our grant licenses, our individual licenses, and our classroom licenses.
Yeah, and to add to that, you can get to Learn without having Unity installed. It's just a website, and you can go through and read things, look at the documentation, all that type of stuff. But if you want to interact with all the stuff happening, you're going to want to have the engine installed to learn and jump in and dive in. Yeah, what Leslie said.
Awesome. Any other questions? Oh. Are you aware of a time frame of when this will be available for middle school age children? That's a really great question. So I know that we're exploring, currently we're exploring 13 and up. So that's, I would say, isn't that like 8th grade? So I would say like next year, this the grant licenses will be available to 8th graders. But in terms of 6th and 7th grade, I know there are some privacy and security concerns and gaps that we need to meet. Yeah. And this has been a priority for Unity, and we are currently working on that. But I unfortunately can't give you a timeline for 6th grade and 7th grade.
So there's some insight there too, I think, because if the big concern with younger is like data privacy, right? And so if the students are using it in a school computer lab using the education grant license, we actually have it set up in a way where you can disable sign-in, so the students don't have to provide any information to use that data. And so then you can then use that with, middle school age, I believe. Now, the one downside to that is if they're working through learn.unity.com, in order to have like the cookie trail of like tracking them through like the content they work through and everything, they would have to make a Unity ID and sign in that way. But you could still teach them this content without them accessing Learn. and have them use the education grant licenses in a school lab computer, and they would be fine because their data wouldn't be being accessed. And then we also, the next question was like, are we able to access this from like a teacher certification? We absolutely provide licenses to teachers for free as well. And Learn is of course free to dive into and tackle and use. So yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't do that and look at the certification paths. And we do have certifications that you can look at and tackle with, like, there's Unity user, programmer, artist, and game developer, and then there's associate as well, programmer and artist. So
Awesome. These are great questions. Any other questions?
I'm gonna grab a link for certification really quick before I forget.
Okay.
And you'd think that, you know, I would have the URL memorized, but it's okay. I'll just drop it right there. That's what Google's for.
You. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and one thing just to know, we've heard you might think, oh, like it's like hard to get started, but like we've heard from various educators that, you know, it's doable, right? Like, and it's fun. So hopefully that's encouraging to you to dive into the technology.
Yeah, and you know, looking at like the lesson plans, when you really dive in and look at those, they're built under the impression that y'all are expert teachers and you're not expert Unity users, right? Because you have enough on your plates as it stands that you shouldn't have to spend 10 years. We build these resources so that you can learn along with them as they're working and have the steps and have the guides. And what I see from a lot of these educators, you know, specifically like just thinking about Mark and Debbie and Sean, who we kind of referenced in the classroom, that was their story, right? Sean has a master's in English. He was an English teacher that decided to move to tech. Mark taught some web stuff, but he didn't teach this. I think Debbie's the one of the three that we talked about that she's been a programmer for a long time, but they just, you know, used this content, used what was available, and over time they just got better and better. And that's kind of the way real-time 3D as an industry works. It is so fast paced. It's always changing. We're using it in so many unique ways that, like, even the quote unquote experts are constantly learning and figuring stuff out because there's always new stuff being released. So the content should really help back a lot of that up and make it easier on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to add, we also have a Facebook group of educators, like where they post comments and like learn from each other. So that's another resource that we recommend, you know.
Absolutely. And we do, you know, we're going to do an end of year education wrap up for them and things like that too. So
if they're not secured, they're extremely vulnerable. We need to point of having
I think someone has a question.
Requirements.
In North Carolina, Duke Energy would not say whether their stations had surveillance cameras to capture those responsible.
Hey, Sharon, can you please mute yourself if you're not asking a question? Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for joining us. It's really great meeting you all. Thank you so much. And again, the links in the deck, right there. You'll have more information to a lot of these resources that we reference are in those two links.